What's worse than shortage of vaccines? It's politics around this. The politics rages on as the centre and the Delhi government are once again at loggerheads over vaccine shortage in the national capital. Delhi has halted its vaccination drive for those above the age of 18, claiming shortage of jabs. The Delhi Chief Minister has asked Prime Minister Modi in a letter to boost vaccine supply. The centre was to call out the Chief Minister, asking him to stop making excuses. So what's the reality? Take a look.
No end to Delhi's COVID woes. Amid the battle against deadly second wave, Delhi government has once again sounded an alarm for vaccine shortage. Delhi has now halted the vaccine drive for those above 18, citing jab crisis. CM Arvind Kejriwal has written a letter to PM Modi requesting to boost up vaccine supply.
मुझे बेहद दुख है कि हमें वैक्सीन खत्म होने के कारण युवाओं के वैक्सीनेशन सेंटर्स बंद करने पड़ रहे हैं। हमने केंद्र सरकार को भी लिख के बताया है। केंद्र से हमने और वैक्सीन मांगी है। जैसे ही हमें और वैक्सीन मिलेगी, हम फिर से ये सेंटर शुरू कर देंगे। दिल्ली को हर महीने 80 लाख वैक्सीन की ज़रूरत है। केंद्र सरकार से हमें जो चिट्ठी आई है कि जून में हमें केवल 8 लाख वैक्सीन दी जाएगी। मई में 16 लाख दी थी, जून में 8 लाख देंगे। अभी तक हम दिल्ली में टोटल 50 लाख वैक्सीन लगा चुके हैं।
In his letter, Kejriwal requested centre to order all vaccine-making companies to start manufacturing Bharat Biotech's vaccine. He also suggested that the foreign companies making COVID vaccine should be allowed to supply and manufacture vaccines in India. Kejriwal further requested PM to speak with countries having surplus vaccine stock and ask them to release it. Meanwhile, centre accused Delhi CM of indulging in politics over pandemic.
दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री दिल्ली के नाम पर लगातार राजनीति करते हैं। अब उन्होंने मांग की कि दिल्ली को केंद्र सरकार वैक्सीन दे। कल ही उन्होंने बताया था और आंकड़े सही है कि 50 लाख वैक्सीन दिल्ली में दे दिए गए हैं। तो वो किसने दिए? ये वैक्सीन आज जो दिल्ली में अभी तक दिया गया है 50 लाख, वो केंद्र सरकार ने ही मुहैया कराया है। आगे भी केंद्र सरकार मुहैया कराती रहेगी और इसलिए बहाना बनाना छोड़ दे केजरीवाल, इतना ही मैं कहूँगा।
While the blame game between the centre and the state goes on, Aam Aadmi continues to suffer. With Ashutosh Mishra, Bureau Report, Delhi, for India Today.
All right, so where are the doses really? Raghav Chadha, he's an MLA and spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, is now joining us. Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP. Thank you both here for your time. I want to begin by asking Charu Pragya, why does the central government say, Charu, that there is politics on this matter? Because we all are waiting for our vaccines. And if there is no vaccine for those between the age of 18 to 45, the Chief Minister is asking for vaccines. What's wrong in it?
Sneha, what happens is that when you are the Chief Minister of the capital of India, you cannot be shifting your goalpost every chance you get. So first you start off by saying, I don't have sufficient oxygen. Later, it turned out that you were misappropriating that oxygen. The discussion about beds has been going on for the longest time. And now it is vaccine. The centre, every vaccine that it acquires is sending it out to union territories and states. More than 21 crore vaccines have been provided to various states of India, and Delhi has received a considerable chunk. That being said, while this politics goes on, it's not possible to keep ramping up production when everybody has to say something negative about whatever the central government decides to do. As of today, we're in a position to be getting 216 crore doses of the vaccine before the year ends. So every adult Indian is going to be vaccinated before the year ends, and the central government is devoted to making this happen. So whether it is foreign vaccines which are going to be manufactured in India, which is already happening, whether it is ramping up production of the existing allowed vaccines, whether it is allowing PSUs to come in and a technology transfer to take place to make sure we can produce more and more vaccine as time goes on, every single thing has been looked into in the minutest and greatest detail. Please understand, sitting like a crybaby in a press conference every alternate day is not helping. You're only creating panic. Let's not do that. Let's work together. Also, when you talk about sending out orders to companies, you're showing intent letters and fobbing that off as letters of order.
You know,
one second. Difference between the two.
Okay, Charu Pragya, hold on. I'll just bring in Raghav Chadha as well. Raghav Chadha, you know, my guess is this, and correct me if I'm wrong. The very fact that the centre has told states, all states, including Delhi, it's a union territory, that for the age category of 18 to 44, you procure the vaccines on your own. Is that what is causing this shortage of doses for this particular age category?
The problem is that there are no vaccines in this country. There is an acute shortage of vaccines. And the shortage of vaccines is there because the government of India has no vaccine policy. The vaccine initiatives of the government of India are driven by knee-jerk reactions. There is no sound policy of the government of India as far as inoculating its own citizens is concerned. Now you have two manufacturers in India, Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute. Both these do not have the capacity, at least currently do not enjoy the capacity to produce the vaccines in the numbers in which it is desired. The government of India perhaps never envisaged a situation like this. And therefore, what you have in the country is that state after state is shutting down its vaccination drives. In Delhi, for the 18 to 44 category, that is the young Delhiite category, the vaccination drive has come to a grinding halt.
You know, Mr. Chadha, I want to ask you one question. Well, just 1 second. And because, you know, I'm going to ask you that eventually. You are supposed to be procuring the vaccine for this age category yourself. You know, you can deal with the companies on your own. That's what the centre has said, that they will only be giving vaccines for those in the priority age group, not for this particular category. Have you not been able to procure these vaccines with these two vaccine companies? If no is the answer, what's the problem?
No, of course we have. We have managed to procure, but we have managed to procure only in abysmal quantities. We placed orders, our orders were acknowledged. However, our demand was, close to, say, for example, 80 lakh vials a month. But what we are being supplied is roughly 1.5 to 2 lakh vials a month. That is the demand and the supply gap. Now, when we speak to these manufacturers and we ask them as to why are you not supplying us in the desired numbers when we have placed orders before you, they say we are not producing in that numbers. Number two, the allocation to each state is also controlled by the government of India, and we have been advised by them to not, allocate XYZ quantity to Delhi. This is in fact written on a piece of paper in an official letter by the chairperson of Bharat Biotech, Mr. Ella Krishna. Number one. Number two, these suggestions, if there is a supply problem because there is no production of vaccine in the right numbers, the Chief Minister of Delhi gave some very valuable suggestions. As the opposition, we gave critical feedback to the union government. We said, number one, invoke compulsory licensing, ensure that there is a patent transfer, and at least Bharat Biotech's vaccine, in which the ICMR is a JV partner, that formula and the technology can be given to other
Mr. Raghav Chadha, I completely agree with you, but there is a problem with that. Charu, I let you come in. Let me just make a quick point here. As far as Covaxin is concerned, there is only one BSL-3 facility in the country. There is another one that's being set up by Bharat Biotech in Karnataka. Because you can't manufacture an inactivated vaccine in whichever facility you want to. So there is a logistical problem.
No, there isn't. Please understand. Number one, the government of India filed an affidavit. On your show, the spokesperson of the ruling party may certainly say that, oh, we will invoke compulsory licensing. Oh, we will ensure technology transfer. But it was this government that filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court a fortnight ago and said that we are against invoking compulsory licensing and sharing the technology as well as the formula to make the
Okay, Charu Pragya, please come in.
Number
Is that
two,
correct?
as far
Raghav
as
Chadha, just let Charu Pragya come in, then I'll come back to you on the second point. I'm going to remember that. Yes. Charu Pragya.
So let me go back to the Honorable Chief Minister's suggestions and let me remind him if he has forgotten that foreign vaccines are already being produced in India. Dr. Reddy's lab is going to be producing Sputnik vaccine. It will be made right here in India and it will be available for Indians to use.
No, Charu. That's not correct. That's not factually correct. Dr. Reddy's is not producing this vaccine. There are 6 other Indian companies and they're going to do so only sometime post-August. So we're not getting Sputnik V anytime soon in the country.
Let me finish, Sneha. I am not saying it is ready for use today. But you know, when you say that foreign vaccines should be produced in India, I am reminding everyone there is already an arrangement for that to happen. As for technology transfer of the 2 Indian vaccines has already happened with 3 different places. Indian Immunologicals Limited, Bibcol, and the third one is Hafkin.
Yes,
so please, when you look this up, all 3 of them. So this technology transfer that you're talking about right now is not something new. The central government has ensured it has already happened. It's working out as we speak. So not just 1, 3 facilities more are now a part of this technology transfer.
Yes, Hafkin transfer happened because the Maharashtra government pushed for it with the center. That's the reason why Hafkin got the know-how of how to manufacture Covaxin. Having said that, Raghav Chadha, go ahead, make your point.
Yeah, just give me some time, please. First of all, the intent of the government was reflected in an affidavit filed in the Supreme Court, not what the propaganda there of the spokespersons that is unleashed on primetime television, number 1. Number 2, there are several countries in this world that have a very nice vaccine policy that prioritizes its own citizens first. And therefore, there are countries that have, amassed these and in fact, if I can use the word, hoarded these vaccines in big numbers in order to inoculate its own citizens twice over. Why doesn't the government of India write to these countries like the United States, like the United Kingdom, like Hungary, and say that, look, the situation in India is grim. It is very precarious. Please provide us these additional vaccines. And once our vaccine capacity is ramped up, we will supply these vaccines back to you.
Okay.
Your stocks will be replenished. This is one idea that Mr. Kejriwal gave. Number 2, she may speak of Sputnik, but there are several other vaccines that have not been given the emergency use approval in India. In fact, Pfizer applied for supplying to the Indian government a few months ago. The application for granting approval was pending for 30 days. At the end of 30 days,
Mr. Chadha.
Let me just finish.
Okay.
Can I just finish? Pfizer got fed up of the bureaucratic delays that it had faced with the government of India, and Pfizer withdrew its application.
Mr. Raghav Chadha, let me just ask you a question, and I'm doing so because I cover health and I've been covering this story ever since the pandemic broke. Pfizer wanted to do away with bridging studies in India. Pfizer was insisting on indemnity. Just please to answer this question, and I'm asking this as a reporter to you, as a health reporter. Had Pfizer been allowed to not carry out bridging studies in India in the month of September last year when they were pushing to introduce this vaccine in India, had the government of India allowed that, what would have had the Aam Aadmi Party said? That how is that an American company being allowed to put its doses here in the country, allow its doses, and without bridging studies being done on our population? Would have you not said that?
Couple of quick points.
Yes.
First of all, I am not, for one, talking of a blanket approval.
Okay.
I am speaking in favor of an emergency use approval. For example, the convalescent plasma therapy had no science, in fact, had no study, had no phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials when it was given emergency use approval by the drug controller of India, Mr. Somani, when he had granted the approval. He had granted the approval merely because A, it's a pandemic. Whatever is to be done to save lives should be done. And he gave the approval for convalescent plasma therapy. Government of India gave this approval. I am merely speaking in favor of an emergency use approval, number 1. Number 2, even when it came to Bharat Biotech's, just let me finish. Even when it came to Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, phase 3 trials were pending when approval for administering and inoculating this particular vaccine was given and it was introduced in the Indian market. Why was it done? Because it was costing us lives. When it comes to saving lives, the government of India needs to be proactive, Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Okay.
It should have consulted doctors.
These,
it should have consulted scientists. And a proper, well thought out strategy could have been placed before the manufacturers of Pfizer.
Okay, what he's trying to say, the larger point is that why didn't you think ahead?
No, Sneha.
Okay.
Sneha,
Charu Pragya.
let me correct the factual. Let me correct the factual errors first. First of all, no vaccine which is already cleared by WHO or the Health Organization in USA needs a separate clearance in India, emergency or otherwise.
It's so Covaxin has got no approval. So which vaccine are you referring to?
I'm talking of international vaccine. So any international vaccine which is already approved by WHO does not need clearance. So do not mislead people here.
No, 1 second. Charu Pragya, the point here, Charu Pragya, the point here is that the drugs controller in India, and they have been uniform in their approach. There was Serum Institute of India also insisting on indemnity, and also other companies that said that probably we should do away with bridging studies. That's not what the regulator approved to. Even now, they have said that we'll give you emergency use authorization. We will take this call instantly within 3 days, but you have to carry out bridging studies simultaneously. We will look at how the 100 people react when you give a Pfizer vaccine to those 100 people. So those checks and balances have to be kept in place. I think the larger point that Raghav Chadha is trying to make, Charu, the larger point, let me just ask you this, okay? Sure. And this is a debate, and it can be an endless one. Why did the government not foresee the situation? I remember very well in the middle of January, the Union Health Minister said that we have flattened the curve. He said that. He also said that there was a sense, okay, that the worst is over for India. Did the center not see this coming? And that's the reason why the doses were sent out of the country. Could have that been avoided for us to be better prepared? A question that the people of the country are also asking, Charu.
So, Sneha, I agree with the first point you made. Obviously, because coronavirus is an evolving disease and every few months we understand that the complications are increasing or changing, the studies have to continue. So everyone who's been given the vaccine is also a part of how we progress further with the vaccination, because that has
what about the doses that went out, Charu? What about the doses that went out?
So for the doses that went out, Sneha, of course, today while India is in need, when we needed oxygen, when we needed oxygen plants, when we needed so much of ventilator supply, the world pitched in to help us. You cannot live in isolation. Nobody is safe till everybody is safe. So because India lent out a helping hand for a very limited number, the rest of the vaccines which went out were part of a contract. So that has to be understood by people.
And
also,
grant in aid. What contract was it? It was grant in aid essentially.
When things started getting bad in India, the vaccine exports stopped immediately. No vaccines were sent out after that. And everybody is aware of that. So before all this big hue and cry started saying don't send our vaccines abroad, well, they were not being sent abroad. The problem with Delhi, Sneha, just give me 30 more seconds. The problem with Delhi is their equation with demand and supply. They want to demand for the world, but whatever they're demanding for, they're not supplying to the citizens of Delhi. We saw how they reacted to the oxygen audit. Maybe a vaccination audit needs to be done in Delhi.
You know, I think it's a little unfair, but because I know,
you also cannot.
Charu,
one more thing.
Let me tell you one thing.
Delhi work with somebody else is doing.
Okay.
Happening. Raghav Chadha was the person who tweeted out pictures saying fantastic vaccination, but which was not being done by Delhi government. I remember pointing it out.
Charu, let Raghav Chadha just come in because I'm really running out of time. So please make your point and your last point. I also want to say one thing, that the Delhi government has said this. Unlike a UP government which said that we will not accept those people, we will not be giving vaccinations to those people living outside of UP in UP, the Delhi government did not say that. Okay, I'm a resident of Noida, but I got my shot in Delhi, by the way. So Raghav Chadha, please go ahead. Yes.
If my analysis is correct, more than 40% inoculations happening in Delhi, at least in my own Vidhan Sabha, where there are 3 to 4 vaccination centers, are people coming from outside Delhi, that is from satellite towns like Gurgaon, Ghaziabad, Noida, etc. But we are willing to cater to everybody. It's India first, Indians first. We can't divide people merely because they live in one state or the other. Number one. Number two, as far as exports is concerned, 6.5 crore precious life-saving vaccines were exported to more than 84 countries. If you were to make this argument of reciprocal aid from these countries, please put a list of the countries that have given you these aids. You have received aids from countries to which you have not exported these vaccines. You have exported vaccines to countries like Nigeria, Uganda, Bangladesh, Pakistan, from whom you have not received the aid. So this argument falls flat. Number one, don't overspeak.
Okay.
Please do not overspeak. Let me finish. Let me finish. Do not overspeak. I never overspoke. Number one. Number two, when you talk of WHO approvals, that Pfizer's, etc., have WHO approvals, blanket approvals, etc., and they simply do not require approvals in India because they have a WHO approval, then why did you frustrate Pfizer when it had applied a few months ago? It was frustrated by the bureaucratic delays and they withdrew their application. And number three, there are countries like the UAE in this world. There are countries. Why do you overspeak this? Let me finish. There are countries like UAE in this world that have vaccines from every international producer in the market. Departmental stores in Dubai have vaccines from Sputnik, from Moderna, from Pfizer, from the Chinese vaccines that you can buy off the shelf. That is the kind of vaccination drive and the stocks that we require in this country. Not where state after state is shutting down its stores.
You know, this is a conversation that we can continue having, but the fact of the matter is, and really running out of time, Charu, there. The fact of the matter is that Delhi has, for the moment, and like many other states, already said that they are not in a position anymore to vaccinate those above the age of 18 and this particular age category. And certainly the people are at a disadvantage, and I think that really is the bottom line of all of this. Hopefully the politics on this matter is going to end. I'm thanking Raghav Chadha and also Charu Pragya for joining us here on the broadcast. That's a wrap on this bulletin. For all news and updates, you can also log on to our website, that's indiatoday.in, and download our app. Thanks for watching.